Today we're going to be talking about what roller coasters each Cedar Fair park should get next. But before we get into that video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video, as it is by far the best way to help the channel out. The links to my social pages, shop and website are in the description. At Cedar Point, I think that they're probably going to get a flying coaster, probably a B&M one with a lift hill. Now I understand that B&M never actually built any flying coasters at Cedar Fair parks for them before. However, I do think that this is the logical next step for a new roller coaster for Cedar Point, and they do like working with B&M a lot. However, I do personally hope that it's a Vekoma flying coaster with a launch on it. But I think this roller coaster will probably be about 150 feet tall, located on Adventure Island, and it'll fly over the walkways and dive down towards the water with fountains just like that on Manta. It'll probably have a theme of some crazy invention of some kind, and I think it is definitely the logical roller coaster for Cedar Point to get next. Kings Island is probably going to get a launch coaster next, I think, and this is probably going to be made by Mack, but it could also be made by Vekoma. I think that this will probably have 3 launches, a 100-foot top hat similar to that on Icon, and lots of airtime and inversions, including an Immelman, an overhead stall, and I think it's going to be a terrain coaster. It'll be located where Vortex was, and I think it'll get the theme and it'll be fitted into the area of like the vintage county fair theme, similar to what they did at Carowinds, and I think it's going to be in that area because they've just built vintage cars over the other side of the midway, so it makes sense for them to expand that theme area and tone the theming up a notch. Cedar Fair have said that when they install new rides in a themed area, they're going to improve the theming of the whole area as well and really improve it and make it into a better experience for people, and I think that that's exactly what they can do here. I think that Carowinds will probably get a GCI wooden coaster next, and I think it'll probably have a twister layout similar to that on Gold Striker, with about 110 feet in height and speeds near 55 miles an hour. It'll hopefully have an inversion as well, like we've seen GCI and the Gravity Group starting to do, and I think it'll have a dark forest kind of theme, similar to what Mystic Timber's got. I hope that they'll leave as many trees around it as possible to give it the proper forest theme, but we know what Cedar Fair are like on that. I think it'll be located where Rip Roaring Rapids was, as they haven't operated that in years and apparently they aren't planning that they're going to. The reason why I don't think that Hurler's going to get the RMC treatment for now is that I think Cedar Fair and RMC have a pretty strained relationship after some problems that happened on the 3 new RMC coasters that they opened back in 2018. So yeah, I think a nice big GCI wooden coaster is by far the most likely addition for this park. I think that Worlds of Fun is probably going to get a launch coaster next. Now it could be Wicked Twister relocated from Cedar Point, but I think it's hopefully going to be an S&S coaster, similar to that found at Six Flags Great America as Max Force. I think that it's going to be located near Mamba, and this park really isn't short on space, so they've got lots of possible places that they could fit this in. I think it'll be very easy to give it an animal kind of safari theme, like a lot of the rides are themed to at this park, and I think it will fit in absolutely perfectly there. It'll be the first launch coaster at the park. Those S&S launch coasters are really popular, and I just think that it'll be the perfect fit. It'll really get people talking about Worlds of Fun again and really draw them back into the park. I think that California's Great America is going to get the B&M Hypercoaster that it's been rumoured about and talked about for some time now. I think that if and when they do, it'll probably just scrape the 200-foot mark, and it'll probably have a City Skyliner theme and a layout similar to Behemoth or Intimidator that follows the edge of the park, meaning that they'll have the space to fit it in. I don't think that they could go for some crazy twisty layout that goes all around the park, because they just simply don't have the room at California's Great America, but one that runs round the side could work. There's no reason why it wouldn't or shouldn't, and I think it'll be the perfect ride for this park. It's no secret that Cedar Fair really wants to expand California's Great America, and I think that this is the perfect ride to do so. B&M Hypercoasters are absolute crowd pleasers. Everyone loves them. They're smooth, they're full of airtime, they're fast and they're comfortable, and that's what everyone wants. Knott's Berry Farm is a difficult park to predict, mainly because they get loads of visitors there and make Cedar Fair an absolute fortune. However, they are really short on space, and it's really tough to try and find what rides could fit where in there without taking big things out. Now I have got some sort of an answer, and I think that could be a Vekoma flying coaster. Now I think it's logical that Cedar Fair will start to work with Vekoma over the next few years, because all of their new designs they've come out with look absolutely amazing, really smooth and really nice reliable rides, and they're a lot cheaper as well. So I think with everything that's going on with the COVID pandemic and the fact that they're not going to want to spend as much on their roller coasters for the next few years, I think it's very logical for them to start working with Vekoma. Now, a Vekoma flying coaster would be perfect. It could replace Coast Rider and fly all over the boardwalk area and could get the surfing theme perfectly. Hopefully this will be launched. However, I think it will only have a couple of inversions at most, as Hang Time has loads of loops and that's right next to it. I think that this will mainly feature big drops and dives and some intense turns as well, making this a moderate thrill coaster, meaning that it's one that everyone can ride and enjoy. I'm hopeful that Valley Fair is set for an inverted coaster over the next few years, and I think that this could either be made by B&M or it could be one of the new Vekoma ones similar to what's been installed at Tripsdrill in Germany. Now, obviously they've worked with B&M before and they really like buying their inverted coasters. However, Vekoma is a lot cheaper and their ones that they've made have a smaller capacity, so they're perfect for smaller parks that don't have quite the same attendance levels, but they're still really smooth and really fun at the same time. Now I'm hopeful that this will be a gateway coaster and it'll take over the Dinosaurs Alive area, and it'll have a turnaround where Wild Things Helix is, and hopefully a station area in Q-Line there as well, as I want it to be part of the Route 76 area, which is already looks like a really good themed area, but hopefully when they install this, that themed area can have a bit of an upgrade as well. As one of Cedar Fair's biggest and best parks, Canada's Wonderland will hopefully be set for a launch coaster over the next few years. I think that this will either be manufactured by Mack or Vekoma, probably Mack, but it could be manufactured by Vekoma, and I think it will replace Time Warp and Flight Deck. Those two rides are by all accounts absolute garbage. Zamperla Valaire's are complete rubbish, and the vast majority of Vekoma SLCs are really bad too. There are some Vekoma SLCs that are alright, mainly actually here in the UK, where there's a couple of ones we've got with custom layouts, a lot smoother, but the vast majority of them are really rubbish. Now, this roller coaster will probably have 2 launches, lots of airtime and a flyover of the park's entrance, and will obviously become the best launch coaster in Canada. It'll have a mythical creature theme, and I think they should just put Time Warp and Flight Deck up for sale. And they could, let's face it, even send Flight Deck to Valley Fair if they're not willing to buy them an inverted coaster, which I wouldn't really want, as Vekoma SLCs are garbage, but it would still be better than nothing for Valley Fair. It's no real secret now that Dorney Park is probably going to get a wooden shuttle coaster over the next few years. This will be the perfect replacement to Stinger, and it shows that Dorney Park is probably going to start going down the family route, which I think is probably the best move, to be honest, because where Dorney Park is located, there's lots of competition around it, in particular from parks that are really good on the thrill rides and basically extreme thrill parks, and Dorney Park really struggles to compete with those as far as big thrill rides go. So I think going down the family route is probably the best move for them, and I think a good wooden coaster like this would be really good. And you know what, it'd be the first one that would be installed in a few years now. The only other one is down in Texas, which Pennsylvania and Texas are a long way from each other. So I think that this is the perfect move for the park. Hopefully it'll be a bit bigger than the one at CDT's, and I think it will be by the sounds of the plans that they've got. But no, though, I think this is a really good idea. I'm all for it. I think it'll be a great new coaster at the park, and it'll definitely be better than the Vekoma Invertigo Stinger that was there before it. I think that Michigan's Adventure should just get a Vekoma family inverted coaster, similar to that you can find at Energylandia, Dollywood, Paultons Park and others. I think that these rides are really good family rides, and Michigan's Adventure is just a regional theme park that's mainly focused on families, so I think that this would be a perfect ride for them. I don't think Michigan's Adventure is a bad park at all, but I just don't think that they really need or should get any big thrill coasters, to be honest. and I think something like this would be a lot better. Something else that I could see them getting is a Vekoma family boomerang coaster as well, but I think it will definitely go out over the lake. Hopefully it can be part of a new themed area as well. No secret by now that King's Dominion is planning on getting an S&S 4D free spin. Well, they're not planning 2 tracks already on site, but yeah, they're getting an S&S 4D free spin to replace their Huss top spin that was there before, and this will be a good fix for a few years, and a good fit definitely in the place of the former top spin before they go on to replace Volcano. Now when they replace Volcano, they'll probably get something a lot bigger there as a replacement for that, as Volcano was one of the biggest rides in the park. I could see him probably getting something like a wing coaster or even a launch coaster when they replace Volcano, but I don't think that that'll be happening for a few years yet. I think that first we'll just get this S&S 4D free spin in, and it'll be a nice new ride for now. The paint scheme of it actually looks really good from what we've seen so far, and hopefully they're going to give it some really good theming. But no though, some people have criticised this, but at the end of the day, this isn't a big thrill coaster to replace Volcano, not at all, it's just a new ride to replace the top spin.